Our next guest says Monday's event will be a prove-it moment for the company. Following the disappointing rollout of Apple Intelligence, Aaron Rakers is senior IT and semi-analyst at Wells Fargo. Aaron, I'll read it from you. You say you see this as, software announcements around iOS, Mac OS, and more. I'm already falling asleep.
Yeah, I think it is a prove-it moment, as you mentioned. Right? They need to talk about the integration of their AI strategy, Apple Intelligence, and ultimately how they're going to address what I think the longer-term concern is how do you get this as a move to really drive unit growth on iPhones again, where we're at down 2% this calendar year. So the integration with third-party developers to leverage their AI strategy. What does it mean from a capital expenditure perspective? Next week's event's largely about the software and the developer ecosystem.
Yeah.
But I think people need to just hear more of what this strategy looks like as we get into next year.
I'll give you an example of something that would really catch my attention. So as a heavy ChatGPT user, and of course they have some kind of partnership through Siri, which I hate using. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the app. If I could say to it, hey, set me an alarm for 1 p.m. tomorrow. Hey, take that shopping list that you just gave me and actually, translate it into, put it into my little notes app or something, right? Like that. That was what was promised, it seems to me, kind of a year or more ago. Are we anywhere close to that kind of functionality now?
I think we have to see, right? I think we have to see how they're leveraging Apple Intelligence across the Apple or the app ecosystem in general, not just what you're talking about, but across in third-party apps as well. And really, ultimately, how this strategy goes about in terms of leveraging what they're doing internally with large language models, as well as leveraging the OpenAI relationship. And then ultimately, as well, what's their thoughts on the search side, given some of the questions around the Google alignment and the partnership there. So, it's multifaceted. Again, I don't think we expect to come out of next week, changing our iPhone unit numbers, but we ultimately just need to see, is there a platform strategy to, really address what I think people have looked at as, AI as being kind of this next kind of platform shift in general.
And Steve, the shares usually underperform during major announcements because there's been so much hype going into them. But this time they're down 18% year to date. So I don't know if that provides a little bit of a cushion.
Yeah, and it does. And I just want to piggyback on what Aaron just said here, Kelly, and that it's so true that this is a developers event, and developers have been kind of turned off by Apple because of what I told you in that opening hit there about the fees that they have to pay and so forth. And what they have the opportunity to do, Kelly, is prove to these developers that they are a great AI platform. I think Aaron was referring to this report out of Bloomberg a couple weeks ago about how those developers will be able to tap into Apple's AI models instead of other models to develop and add those features to their apps, but they're going to have to prove it's just as good or better than what they're already using. So many of these developers are already using Gemini or OpenAI's ChatGPT or even Meta's Llama. What is Apple going to be able to offer these developers that are better and more robust? And if you've used Apple Intelligence, you just said it yourself. ChatGPT is so much better. Why would you go towards anything else? So they're going to have to really sell that case and keep those developers into that ecosystem, keep them making cool apps that they can, again, take their rake off of, or they're going to risk losing those developers, especially with this web payments threat. That is a real looming thing going on for them, Kelly.
Definitely. Aaron, the final thing I'd say, though, is I'm using ChatGPT for the most part on my phone. There's no danger that I'm not going to use the iPhone. If anything, if they said, you got to have the latest handset to make sure you can get all the best, software functionality out of these apps. So it feels to me like I almost don't want them to try too hard to do more with AI and interfere with my experience on the phone, which has not suffered because of ChatGPT and using Grok and the rest of them. It's been enhanced by access to those apps.
Yeah, I guess my argument to that would be is that last year, if we went back, right, a lot of this AI insertion into the Apple strategy, had a lot to do with kind of accelerating the iPhone unit growth, right, and driving that potential upgrade cycle in what's been a fairly kind of anemic growth backdrop of the smartphone market in general. So I think that's what the investors are looking for, is how do we see this platform drive the bigger piece of the narrative, which is the iPhone cycle, and now thinking about the iPhone 17 and fast forwarding into next year on the next generation after that.
No, you're exactly right, and that was a big piece of why Laura Martin moved to a hold on the stock this week without that catalyst in sight. Gentlemen, thank you both. Steve, we'll let you go get ready to get on that plane on Sunday night. Steve Kovach and Aaron Rakers.